Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download. That happened quickly. We got to Friday in no time, and we're in such good shape. Hi, guys. Hi, LB. Hi, Eric. It's almost like Eric's got a smile on today. He's got like a little smile. Yeah. How was your week, Eric?
Oh, it's going great.
Yeah. LB, tell us about yours. You look great, by the way. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I'm tired.
It's been a long week for
tired.
sure.
I made it. There's no mascara today because my eyes can't handle it. But I feel good, you know.
Lots of news.
It's a little bit. I think a lot of traumatizing of the body republic happening right now. A lot of people being really, really upset, and so that's upsetting.
Boy, when you think about how much news happens in a week, we don't really get much time to process any of it. I mean, it's sort of like one thing happens and then you jump onto the next thing and you jump onto the next thing. We never really get a minute to say what just happened. And I'm trying to think of everything that happened this week, and there was so much that it's even hard to remember. I mean, we were just at the RNC recently, and now suddenly the whole world seems to have changed. The biggest thing today came from the Atlantic publication of that incredible investigative story that they did about Trump's attitude to the military, which really caught everyone's attention for good reason, because we all sort of suspect he's as boorish as you can imagine, but we all sort of expect he's not going to honor anybody. But the disrespect, I think, caught me by surprise. The level of disrespect that he has for military servicemen now and to have passed away, it's just shocking. It's just beyond belief. And particularly when he was talking about the wounded veterans, which, was just so hurtful. And I'm sure to every wounded veteran who might be listening or not, it's just that couldn't have felt very good at all. It must have been a stab in the heart.
Nothing's changed, though. Nothing's changed. He started his campaign. He denigrated, veteran or prisoners of war, and he made fun of handicapped people. I mean, he's been a brutal mobster from the beginning. So it's just getting around to some people's attention.
Yeah. Will this have an impact? Will this have an impact, though? Do you think it'll change perceptions among the base, which is really what these kinds of stories you hope will do at the end of the day?
I don't think anything is going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I really don't. I think he could, commit heinous acts in the Rose Garden and.
I'm sorry, that's just me opening the messaging. We're open on the Periscope if you guys want to say hi and chat and give us comments. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay. And I don't think I think people can watch it with their own eyes, and they're gonna, they're too embedded with him at this point, and we'll have to deal with all that later. But Eric's right. This is who he is. This is who he's always been. I think for people who don't, there is so much of the country that's really not paying attention to politics the way we pay attention to politics, even a smidgen. They really don't. It feels like Trump is everywhere, but I don't know.
I think people know this is serious. I think they know that this election is...
And I think this might have punched through, I guess, is what I'm saying, into that. Like he said, what? He's doing what? For people who don't normally pay attention. So maybe there. But, the other thing is, and Eric can speak to this as well, he's fulfilling the propaganda that the Kremlin has been really... sort of very thirsty for a long time to push about our troops, right? From whether it is he's holding up war criminals and calling them, these are the kind of soldiers I like, to calling them weak and losers. This makes one person really, really, really happy. And I don't think that's lost on Donald. As much as there's personal stuff in there, it seems like this is really who he is. he's making somebody really happy. He really is. He's making someone over in the Kremlin really, really happy with all this.
It seems the center point of all of this is going to be pivoting around the words losers and suckers, which is his names that he's used those names and called those names out before, never in this realm. But how many? I think Biden at the start of his press conference today
Hold
was
on.
so.
He called the intelligence community Nazis when he came in. So yeah,
He did.
he's been here. He compared the people of the intelligence community who are public servants of the most serious sort. He compared them to the people who committed the Holocaust 4 years ago.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, he's been here the whole time.
He hasn't moved, no. But I think still the veterans themselves and the soldiers themselves, even though they might have politically moved, the idea that they are going to be saying out loud that they've to confront this idea that they are losers and suckers. That's a little bit more of a broader term than a broader use of that term than the intelligence community. But he hasn't moved. The truth of it is he hasn't moved. We've seen all of this before, and I don't think anyone's going to be
Which is
shocked
why
or
it's
surprised.
believable. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't mean it's not hurtful and traumatizing, though. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm not a veteran. My grandfather was, right, and so, but watching folks that have served, have people who have lost loved ones, Gold Star families, watching all of those beautiful Americans just get traumatized from this guy, and it's like he just comes in and let me just kick this wound, America. Let me just hurt you.
Mhm.
And he likes that. He's sadistic. He likes it. And he likes it. And then he's like, oh, wait, this might be bad for me. Wait a minute. He has to adjust to that and spin around. But I don't know. Let's see. I hope that it doesn't get let go and just let's move on to the next outrage. But,
Kellyanne Conway this week said, spoke, they say it's the quiet part out loud, but in reality, she was trying to actually frame it in a better way. But she was saying that the chaos is what he thrives for. The chaos is good for him. It helps him appear like the strong law and order leader that he's running as. And we've sort of suspected that all along, expected that. First time we've heard it from a White House official. But, at some point, he's causing so much trauma to everybody. It's causing so much trauma to every single American that it becomes untenable. And yet there is a core group of 30% of the population which are hell-bent on supporting him. And I can't believe they don't know what's going on. I find it hard to believe they don't see the outrage from outside, which means they must really believe in what he's saying, which is sort of the idea that you can start an apartheid America and sort of two-tier governments and two-tier systems. I can't think of any other real reason why they would still be following him. I mean, it can't be that they buy all his lies. They just can't be.
Well, they're not paying attention to it that closely. I mean, there's only 10% of Americans can name who the Speaker of the House is. So if you're looking for people that have an opinion about Nancy Pelosi's, work, whether it's good or bad, you're talking 1 out of 10 Americans can even start that conversation. I was thinking any of those polls, 25% of the American population is roughly the same amount that believe in angels, can identify the United States on a map, etc. And, I think generally when you look at those, it's also, we don't have that great a public education. It's okay. We certainly have a class in society that wants to tear that apart for everybody that's not them. I'm not excusing ignorance. It's not a great thing, but they're also not plugged into the day to day. They know kind of who's president, kind of maybe who's senator in their state. Maybe they don't. Maybe they know the governor. Maybe they don't. If you're looking for that 25 to 40% of folks, and if the last thing they remember, or if what they're seeing on social media, which is still targeted to them, bolsters what they remember, these kinds of things are not going to pierce through. However, let's not forget that those people are not the most influential. Like if you get all the attorneys and Supreme Court justices and business leaders who are like, whoa, this isn't going to work, that's a smaller section of society, but it will actually have, and when they get off the bus, they can't do this anymore, I think they may stop short of full-on fascism if they want.
Peachy Keen 54 is asking, did any GOP speak on this today? And I I don't think they did. I have yet
We
to
were
see
talking
anyone.
about this before. I mean, I didn't see anybody. Um, did you? Did you, Eric? Did you see any? I'm not holding. I'm
No,
not like we're holding
they're
out
trying to
this,
they're
but
trying to change the subject.
Mhm.
they are. Okay.
But still, I mean, you've got this is not even be disputed by the leadership of the military. That they've basically confirmed all the details in the story. So it's not one
Oh,
of those
it's
things.
confirmed on Fox
Yeah,
News.
you
Fox
can't run
News
away from it.
confirmed.
They're going to
Fox News is
try.
reporting.
I
Yeah.
know. What are they changing the story
It's
to? Are they trying to change it to Snowden or something? I thought I saw Getz out there trying to push that today. I don't pay
Well,
that
our
much
first
attention.
lady was saying, and it's not that she's changing the story. It's what's their spin on it, right?
Mm.
So that's what you always have to look for. It's like, how are they spinning this? What are they merging it with? And her spin that she put out just a half an hour or more ago was, we can't trust anonymous sources. This is a dictate. This is how dictators are, or whatever. She said some horseshit
Mm.
about conflating that if it's anonymous and it's not really the press and no one should do this, as if the Einstein visa knows what she's talking about when it comes to the process of journalism. But certainly she knows what she's doing. She's not even writing that tweet. I mean, but she knows, they know what they're doing. They know how they're using one another and what they're for saying. So, I think it'll all
Maybe
be
it's
that.
maybe it's just the gaslighting that's actually working for him. Maybe he doesn't mind the fact that we're all going to be out there going, isn't he crazy? Isn't he insane? Isn't he can't really believe that a president did all this? I mean, maybe that's just what he's counting on. Is he's counting on us being so outraged that it just creates even more division and more withdrawal into our own pockets of society, which is what we've been doing now for 4 years. Right. Well, that's a good
We
way to
can.
start the show.
I'm
It's
sorry.
light and fluffy.
It's a little off, but
Yeah.
it's a little down. But
Yeah.
I don't know, Eric. What do you think? Just going to be another
I
one
mean,
of the things on the pile?
well, the pile should have been shocking 5 years ago, but what we have now is people like Steve Bannon who've been indicted for crimes that'll put him away until he's dead. You've got Manafort's never going to get out of jail. Mike, we've forgotten. We started this week Monday. The DC Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the three panel circuit
That's right.
decision there. They're like, nope, we're going to give this case back to Judge Sullivan, and he can look at Rule 48A,
Right.
which says that Bill Barr cannot just get Mike Flynn off. He's going to look into, what went into this decision, and maybe we should have perjury charges. And a lot of what's gone on has, a lot of the protection Trump has gotten, has been for the fact that people are not flipping. Whereas Roger Stone said, it would have made my life a lot easier to flip, and I didn't. But he said it out loud.
Mm.
So he's signaling to every other traitor out there. And, if Flynn if they can get Flynn out of this, and maybe they can destroy the post office, maybe they can they can either get reelected illegitimately or destroy American democracy for Vladimir Putin. Those are their orders at this point. And then maybe you don't have to go to prison just yet. But that was set back on Monday. Nope, sorry, that was a crappy argument. So it goes back to Judge Sullivan. So we'll see what Judge Sullivan does with it.
I mean, they really are burning it down. They really are. They're like, okay, we'll burn it.
Yeah.
We'll burn it down. We'll burn down. They are exactly like we I know we've talked about Eric's, game theory thread, but that there was, I think, Eric, there was something I was seeing some of that again today, and I'm like, oh, there it all is. Here it all is. It's the story hasn't changed of who these people are, what they're up to, and what they're going to do. It's very consistent. There hasn't been any deviation around any of this. The only thing that's been inconsistent is the way, like with Trump and everything he's always said about the military and how he's always categorized, is the only thing has been how the public discourse has convulsed around this very clear, steady, this is what it is, this is who they are, this is what they're going to do. Oh, look, they're doing every single thing they were going to do, right? This is how we warned you. This is what It's like it's all consistent. There's nothing.
And we're staring at this nightmare, and
No,
yet
no,
everyone's willing to go and
happen.
experience this nightmare. It seems like Americans, or 30% of Americans, are willing to say, "Well, it's okay. We'll still go on with this nightmare." I don't understand.
It's not 30%. People normalizing this are way above 30%. You get the 30% that don't really know whether or not Trump said he hates veterans or not. That actually is a pretty important statement that he's finally made, and I think it is going to cut a lot of people to the quick, and they are going to change. But the 25, if we're talking about the 25% that doesn't really pay attention to the news, that's going to be tough. But there's way more, that are participating in the cognitive bias and the normalcy bias. Like I'm watching these blue check journalists go, he won't criticize Russia, and I'm really at the end of my rope with patience there. It's like, you think?
Yeah, it's not.
I don't know. Oh, we should put out a government report. Oh wait, did you read the last three?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as much their fault for constantly setting the narrative back to zero. Well, we just don't know. No,
Yeah.
you do. Either you don't want to say the truth, or your boss has told you not to, and you're harming this country. So quit your jobs.
Yeah, there's definitely I like the way you said it. It was a cognizant. What did you call it? I like the expression.
It's
Cognitive bias. Cognitive bias.
Cognitive
bias. Did you see Joe today? Like, he was amazing. He gave an amazing press conference.
He did do a great press conference.
I mean, he's doing it. He battled down all of the horse shit around him, and basement or whatever with him, and he's old, blah blah blah. I can't think. And he was like, "You guys are." He slipped to the press. He's like, "You're smart. When is it going to take you to just go? He's a fraud." Right? And he went like that with his head, fraud, and just challenge them on that.
Yeah.
He's a fraud, and it's not an opinion. This is not an opinion.
Did you hear his answer about QAnon?
Oh yeah. Well, I believe in mental health.
Yeah,
care
I'll play it
as
for you.
well.
I'll play it for you.
Trump for not rejecting that conspiracy and the people who believe in it.
I've been a big supporter of mental health. I'd recommend that people who believe it maybe should take advantage while it still exists in the Affordable Care Act. It's bizarre. Totally bizarre. And now, have you guys found that plane load of people in uniforms and weapons and flying around? I mean, have you found them yet? Is anybody even from, now, by the way, I respect conservative and liberal points of view in the press. Anybody found that plane? What in God's name are we doing? Look at how it makes us look around the world. It's mortifying. It's embarrassing, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. If the president doesn't know better, which he has to know better, then my Lord, we're in much more trouble than ever.
Have you found the guys on the plane, everybody?
Yeah. On that plane yet? Because I haven't heard
What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Right. So he did it. He's just in sync, right? John Lunza just tweeted, breaking, Donald Trump is the piece of shit 2/3 of Americans have said he is every day for 4 years. Like, this is not new.
I am a little worried about the post office thing. Eric brought it up earlier, but I'm a little concerned that, as I can see, the post office employees are saying that they've got a backlog already of ballots because the sorting machines will be taken out of and that they're late on delivering ballots. That's early. This is early. We're right there at the beginning, and they're already raising the alarm about that. I think we've got to be prepared for some things not arriving on time, missing ballots by the thousands, maybe disappearing. And I don't want to be alarmist about this, because I think it's so important to maintain a level of confidence and calm during this period. But I don't know if people are really watching that. People may not be as...
People are watching it. The question is whether we're going to press charges against the people that have committed felonies. One of the things Joe Biden said today is that Donald Trump came out and asked Americans to commit felonies. So we come back to Donald Trump, Bill Barr, and the people who are elected officials. Either, we're either going to start arresting people for breaking the law in America, or there's not going to be a democracy and there's not going to be law anymore. We either enforce the law and we stop that. Either Louis DeJoy is out on his ass in about 5 days-ish, and they put the machinery back in, and we have a real election, or we don't. And if nobody cares, then I guess this country doesn't deserve a democracy. If the people who have been told enough that this is a threat, this is what's happening, they're gonna tear this thing apart. And I'm glad we brought up the veterans, because this is what those people died for. And if you actually care about what they gave their lives for, then maybe you'll give Joe and Kamala $5. You'll call your elected officials and tell them, no, we're not voting for you, even though I'm in your political party, or whatever. We either believe in this country enough to deserve a democracy, or we don't. And I guess we'll see what people do.
But we need to act now. I mean, it's not like we can wait until election day and the disputed elections. I think your point is that it has to happen now.
Yeah.
But who's going to do that? I'm asking for myself right now. I'm not going to pretend. Are we talking about states going and forcing this, or I think this is where people get into the despair. So I want to, like, if there actually is a way to force this guy, are you saying hold him in inherent contempt in Congress and rip his budget? What can we do to compel? Because there isn't any accountability right now, and nobody's willing to step up and make sure there is some. We can't even get Kelly on the record talking about how this guy disparaged his son so horrifically. He's like, I don't want the bad tweets. That was whoever the source is gave that as their excuse of why they won't go on the record.
Yeah,
we can't talk about Senate Intelligence Committee report Volume 5 more than 3 seconds.
People don't care. I mean, it's amazing to me. This remarkable report I've seen issued about anyone, but certainly about this president, and no one will pay attention to it. I mean, every day there's a new revelation from Volume 5 that seems huge. There was one, wasn't this yesterday that we were, where was it? It was a big story we're going to talk about. It wasn't just about Rosenstein. There was another part of that was really interesting. Just Rosenstein basically, turns out, like many of us suspected, basically buried the entire Mueller report by telling Mueller that he could only focus on the criminal stuff, when in fact the FBI was expecting Mueller to cover the rest of it. And that's sort of my takeaway from that story in the New York Times. I mean, stuff just washes over people, that there was no ever real investigation into Trump Russia. It was only part of the investigation that we saw from Mueller, and that the rest of the stuff, the counterintelligence report, sort of didn't exist, just went into midair, disappeared, or however that stuff goes away.
Don't conflate the investigation of the FBI as a whole and the focus of assembling evidence that can go into a prosecution. They're different. There's the evidence that the FBI has gathered over many years, which, including on the 2016 election, is proof positive that Donald Trump and the people in his campaign conspired, not colluded, conspired with Russian intelligence. It's done. It's done. We either prosecute it or we don't. It's not, he says it's a hoax. Stop reporting that somebody said it's a hoax. It's done. The Russians admitted it years ago. This is what it is. So whether Rosenstein or later on, Barr or whoever, whether they allowed, prosecution to go forward, there should be contemporaneous memos of those decisions that will outlast whoever's in right now. So if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win, then there could be a torrent of prosecutions that follow that, because that's the thing about federal stuff. The records that people make, and we have a joke. You ever see that book Everybody Poops? In DC, it's called Everybody Memos. Everybody Memos. You send yourself emails, you get CYAs and this and that. Everybody Memos in DC. Yeah. So just let's say Rosenstein or whichever boogeyman that we haven't heard of tried to scuttle something. Well, the person that went, hey, here, go file this indictment. If that person said, oh, okay, sure, thank you. The person who files the indictment was, so I handed that over for indictment today, and 5 days later or 3 days later, when they call, how's that going? When there's nothing. Today I called just get this guy, right, and he didn't say no. And we'll establish a pattern of, hey, I called 10 times. Weird, my indictment's not going through, even though it's a great case. That doesn't go away. It's not like they just throw that all in the trash. That's because look, let's not forget stuff we've covered on this very program. They're taking Ghislaine Maxwell on, not for some stuff that she did with her submarine 2 years ago or whatever, but from stuff from 1994 to 97. If you look at a lot of the mob prosecutions, it's, or the Gambinos, Bananos, Lucchese, whoever, they're dealing with hits that happened in 97 or 98 in Staten Island. It's, that stuff hasn't gone anywhere. So, nobody's out of the woods yet just because this group of, and probably very few in the totality of the U.S. government, which is, a very large group of hardworking people who are almost uniformly patriotic and willing to serve their country for less money they could make in other jobs. Just because you have a few people jammed into, political appointee positions doesn't mean the institutions themselves are broken, or, we can't prosecute based on what we know. I mean, you could probably
it does take political will, though. A lot of these take political will. That's always going to be the case. You're always going to need an AG that's at least, committed to doing real law and order and justice. Because otherwise, we see what happens. We see, Barr has killed, attempted to kill about 4 or 5 big investigations. No, maybe more.
We can't have traitors. We can't have traitors in the executive branch anymore.
It is a good transition.
Let me jump a little, but I want to talk about the traitor list.
Yes.
Anne Applebaum, who, if none of our listeners are aware of Anne, please go and look at her work. She's extraordinary. And she did an interview, and I think also in the Atlantic. I think the Atlantic did this too. The first interview with Peter Strzok.
Oh, yes.
And so everyone go and read that, because he was head of FBI counterintelligence. He knows that world, and he does a real clear distinction of, here's what how he was confined. Don't conflate this. This is where the counterintelligence investigation. He doesn't have any, when you're out, you're out. You can't speak, even if you're an investigator, but certainly if you're in intelligence, you're out, you're out. You can't talk about what, even the next day shit might have changed, right? So you don't know what, you can't sit there and speak with authority if you're not in. So he's clear about, he draws those boundaries, but he explained it in a way that for me really clicked and made sense. So I encourage everybody to go read that interview. It's a great interview too. It's really good. And to support Anne. And to
talk about support Anne, which is great, and support the Strzok book, which I think is going to be really interesting. But also to talk about Greg Olear. I did it again. That's $1. But Greg Olear's incredible Prevail piece today, Treason Power Rankings, 101 collaborators. I've got it up on the screen, but LB's going to talk a little bit more about it. People were asking where Greg is. Greg's enjoying normal life, I guess, by having a Labor Day weekend. The rest of us are just suckers, and here we are. But we're happy to be here. But we're particularly happy because there's a new list. So tell us a little bit about the list, and then Greg will run us through his top 10. LB.
Oh, he just put this together and kind of dropped it on everybody. I had a little hint of it ahead of time. I'm like, "You're doing what?" He goes, "Yeah, it's going to be fun." And it's the greatest thing. I can't stop playing with this thing. It's like a toy to me. I love wordsmiths, and Greg really is one. And every once in a while, there's so many zingers in here. There's so many zingers in here. But the context of it is, you've got to be American. He knows there's several people that he just didn't get in here because the list is so big. But he's got some honorable mentions that are great.
Yeah, they're good ones.
He did the list. There's some that aren't the top 10. Yeah, you want to do the ones that aren't top 10.
Well, he's going to read through. He's going to read the top 10 to us. So he's here via tape. And he wanted to mention. He wanted to say hello. He wanted to say he's away, and then here he is running us through the top 10. Take a listen.
Here are my top 10 most sinister, worst traitors right now involved in Trump Russia, and also in Trump's reign, which includes COVID and people dying of that. So I have number 10, Mike Flynn, the treasonous, disgraced general. I have number 9, Eric Prince, real life Bond villain. I don't think we've really scratched the surface of what he's been up to, but I think that when it comes out, it's going to come out. It's going to come out hard, and people are going to be very surprised at how, his prints are all over everything. Number 8 is Steve Bannon, Bannon, of course, was indicted. Was it last week, the week before? I've lost all track of time, but he's under indictment, and he is going to flip like Nadia Comaneci. I think everybody's really sweating bullets, including him through his 3 shirts. Number 7 and 6, you got Roger Stone at 7 and Paul Manafort at 6. The former business partners, now convicted felons. Good for them. Great job, guys. I hope you enjoy life in prison. By the way, don't worry about Roger Stone, this commuted sentence stuff, because that thing is going to get challenged, and he will wind up in jail. That thing is so corrupt and bad, and that's going to get tossed. So, Roger Stone can dance now, but he won't be dancing in 2021. Number 5 is Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook is Russian malware. I don't even know that this guy, I think he's a fraud. And, I think, again, we don't really understand yet just how much influence there was there. But all this business with what he's allowing to be seen and what he's not allowing to be seen on Facebook, it's pretty obvious that, he has an agenda. And the agenda is Trump's agenda. Those agendas are aligned. They're in alignment, which is bad. So, Zuckerberg, number 5. Number 4 is Rupert Murdoch. Fox News is it's a blight on our nation. It's just straight up propaganda. They've got a couple of decent newscasters, and just the talking heads there are a who's who of just evil fuckers. And they're all over my list, 101 collaborators. There's a bunch of them on there. Bad people. Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Tucker. These are just, they're not good people. What does Trump say? Nasty people. They're not, though. They really are actually bad people. Number 3, Bill Barr. I think since he took over as Attorney General, the move towards authoritarianism has gotten worse. I think Bill Barr knows a lot about money laundering. I think he's mobbed up. I think he's hiding stuff. I think he's hiding organized crime activity. I don't know if he works for some mobsters or for a foreign government, but I know he does not work for the United States government. He does not work for the United States people. He's not on our side. I think that's pretty fucking obvious. Number 2, cocaine Mitch McConnell. No American has done more to erode the republic and just try to smash the foundations of what we built in this country in my lifetime. I think you got to go back to Robert E. Lee for a larger just traitor against what America is all about than Mitch McConnell. I mean, the damage that this man has caused is it's going to take decades to recover from. And, he's propping up Trump. I don't know why he's doing it, but he's doing it. He's done it the whole time. He will not allow the vote on the election interference because he knows that, or he hopes that Russia will help them. And that's why he's doing it. So, Mitch, go fuck yourself. And number 1, Jared Kushner, acting president Jared Kushner. I think he's calling the shots. I think the list of his crimes is so long that if it were a resume, it would stretch onto multiple pages. And he basically greenlit a blue state genocide and scuttled the plan that his own people came up with because he thought that people dying in mass numbers in New York, where I live, in New Jersey, where I grew up and where I'm from and where he's from, and California and places like that, he thought, hey, if enough blue state people get sick and die, we can blame the governors. It'll be good for Trump's re-election chances. What would have been good for his re-election chances? How about doing something about COVID, you fucking moron? Jared Kushner is evil. He's stupid. And he is number 1 on our list of traitors. It's Labor Day. It's a long weekend, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. I'm going in on a little bit of a buzz. I am not going to lie. As horrible as the comments that Trump made about the military are, I don't know that he can come back from that. I know I've been saying something like that for quite some time, but I just don't see how he can come back from it. It's now been confirmed by the AP. It's been confirmed by the New York Times and the Washington Post and Fox News. He fucking said it. He said that people who died in our wars, our war dead, are losers and suckers. And he doesn't understand why anybody would want to sacrifice for the country when there's not any, transactional good to come out of it on the other side, which means that he's just, he's a mobster. That's what he is. And his time going to come.
I got sound effects. That's new.
Oh, it's so good. And
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to read it too, because He wasn't reading from his wordsmithness, but we got a little taste of it. It's just really great. Like it does help. We need these releases.
Oh God, we need it so badly. I think people are really depressed and people are really fearful, and it's time to like, oh, we got to shake it off because, you know, at the end of all this is greatness. At the end of all of this is the possibility that we have a Senate and we have a Congress and we have an executive branch which is all swimming in the same direction and could actually do something great. Could actually fix many of the challenges and ills that we faced in so long. I mean, it's not like, you know, this doesn't mean anything. This means a lot. The elections have consequences, and a Biden victory in this election means a lot. The Democrats winning the Senate majority means a lot. Maintaining their House majority means a lot. That's going to ultimately, at the end of the day, determine the future of this country and determine it in a big way. The polls are still indicating that they are on track to do that, although it's looking close. There's no way to deny that it's looking close. But, you know, once you look beyond all this election fucketeering that they're doing, whether it's this law and order crap that they're pulling together or the coronavirus stuff, which we can all see right through. I mean, we can tell when they're manufacturing things like telling us that the coronavirus vaccine is going to be ready on November 1. It's not going to be ready on November 1. No one thinks it's going to be ready. In the same way, we can see right through their law and order stuff that they keep pushing up against us. And then, you know, we just have to make sure that they don't screw up with the post office. So through all those hurdles, we need a majority. But we can do that. I think it's possible. I still think it's very, very likely, in fact.
I do, and I think people, you know, find something to do. It does help. Find something to do to contribute. We've been pushing out sort of donations. You'll see us do pushes like Monday, Wednesday, Friday to put money right directly into Joe and Kamala's coffers. Nothing against anybody's PACs or any, you know, those are great, but we just like something going right in there that we know, and there's you know, different limits on it, and so it's good. I'm gonna put it on my page. I was meant to do that the other day, but I got distracted, so I'll put it on there tonight.
Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative, and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe and download.